Hello, hello. I am really hoping that this is working. It seems like it is. I'll be more reassured if I see someone is able to join. But then again, I didn't announce that I was doing this. So I am Hannah Byrd with Hannah Crafted Gifts, and I am back today. I guess it won't seem like back to you, but back to me to do another recap of OnStage 2025. The reason why I say back and to do it again is because I did this last weekend. I spent way too long, 2.5 hours. I'm hoping it will be less for your sake today. But I recorded and for some reason didn't do it live, even though I usually do. And then it seemed it didn't record. So after a week of trying to recover that from my computer, I'm back trying again, this time live. And that's why I'm really hoping it's working. I see someone's watching. Thank you so much. In fact, I don't know that I've done live this way before, direct from YouTube. So I think we're able to chat. I'd love to know who's watching live, where you're watching from. And this can be more of a conversation with those who are joining live. But if you're watching on replay, I'm still so glad you're here. I'd still love for you to comment wherever you find this, whether it's YouTube or other social media, and ask your questions. I'm happy to try to answer them because, again, today's going to be a recap, hopefully less than a 2.5 hour recap of my recent experience at OnStage 2025. So if you don't know, that's Stampin' Up's conference for demonstrators, which is someone like me who's partnered with the company. And I went last year for my first, and I thought maybe only time. I thought this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And it was at least a twice in a lifetime opportunity. So I got to go back this year. This year it was in Raleigh, North Carolina. And when they announced that at last year's conference in Houston, which I had gone to in part because I had a friend who lived nearby in Texas that I was able to visit, I thought I have to make this work again. Not only because I'd so enjoyed the conference, which is what I'm going to talk mostly about today, but I have a friend who lives near Raleigh as well. And so I've been able to the last couple of years combine the conference with those friend visits. But the conference itself is just such a highlight. It was honestly one of the highest highlights of my 2024, and I had a good year. So that's saying a lot. And I knew that this time wouldn't be able to be quite as good because it wasn't my first time, but it was still great. So I'm going to try to do this relatively quickly, but go through thoroughly as well my experience at the event. And I do this in part to share with anyone who might be interested, but also just for my own memory keeping. The one thing I forgot to do last time, and I'm sure I'll forget something today, but maybe the serendipity of getting a second chance at this is I'm getting to wear my Stampin' Up shirt. So check this out. This was something that they threw out to the crowd. Let me hold it so you can see it. Gosh, the camera's backwards. There we go. You can tell it's a bit big on me. But I was so excited to catch one. I actually walked back in from a break when they were playing that song. Oh, sorry for the noise. The hype song at like a lot of sporting events, like do, 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 hey. They play that and they shoot t-shirts out of the t-shirt cannon. And I happened to walk in and be right in front of one of the people who was just like hand tossing the shirts. And so I waved and I got one. It was actually bigger than this, and someone traded me for a smaller one. So thank you to that new friend. But that was just one of many things that we got from this event. And I want to actually start by saying something that I learned from Sarah, our CEO, who I'll talk more about, who was at this year's event. She's always at one of them, but they do them in each market. So South Pacific, Europe, and North America. And she's been taking turns as she should. And this year she was back in North America, which I was very excited about. But she mentioned very humbly something that I think would be really helpful for all demonstrators and even customers to know. And that is that Stampin' Up actually subsidizes the onstage experience for us demonstrators. So this year's sold out in like record time, like within hours. The conference was full. Not everyone on the wait list got in, unfortunately. I had several friends who couldn't join us. The hotels in the area were booked up like within hours of registration opening. And so it's a very popular event for good reason. And Stampin' Up could be making a lot of money on it because obviously the demand is there. People will pay. They can and they will. And instead, Stampin' Up is actually subsidizing it, which for someone on a budget, I especially appreciate because it is an investment and I do think it's worthwhile. But that was just so meaningful to me to know that they could be making more and they choose not to make this in part a gift to us. So thank you, Stampin' Up, and thank you, Sarah, for valuing us in that way. But we do get lots of gifts at this event. So I'm going to go through kind of in chronological order, if I can, to my memory. It's been a couple weeks now, what this experience was like. And so it started on Thursday, March 13th. And the first thing was check-in from 12 to 4. I got there just shortly after check-in began. So I think I might have missed the initial rush. There was definitely a lot of people there already when I got there, but no line for registration, which was great. So we get our swag when we check in, and that always entails a lanyard. So here's mine. And you add these ribbons onto it. So this is my current title, Bronze Elite. And if you've earned certain achievements like in leadership, team building, and sales, then you get those ribbons as well. But on our name tag, you can see my name there. And we get, it just tells us what country we're a demonstrator in. So obviously for me, it's USA. This is our prize patrol number. So everyone has the opportunity to win prizes at the event. And I'll show you what I got. This is the QR code to the schedule, which is what I'll be talking through to remind myself of what was when. And then our lunch selection, standard vegetarian or gluten-free. Lunch was really good this year, by the way. We had like 4 options both days. Really good. Oh, and then we get these pins for our lanyards. So it took like a day or two for me to look around and realize that these small pins actually fit into the larger pin. So it's 3 separate pins that go together, which is really cool. And a friend of mine traded, there's always an OnStage pin, and there was 3 different kinds that I saw this year. And so a friend of mine traded me for this design. But the Luck and Love I got in my first set that I was given, and I really liked those. And then this Love What I Do pin I earned in the product playground for a bingo game that I'll tell you more about later. But really fun. I have all my lanyards from events hanging behind the camera there. I love holding on to those. We also always get a pen and a notebook. So this year it was this giant, like Trapper Keeper kind of notebook. This is the pen that we got, which of course says Stampin' Up on there. And we've got a clipboard on the front, and then this full-size notepad on the inside, which can slide out to be, I guess, replaced when I fill that up. And you've got the pocket on the other side. I love this background. It's on the front here as well, kind of showing a bunch of different craft supplies. And then the very background, the scene that you can sort of see peeking behind, maybe a DSP coming to an annual catalog near you. So something to watch for. That was kind of the theming of the whole event, was that kind of scenery that we may be seeing in a product soon. All right, so I got a bunch of stuff here, but like I said, I kind of want to go in order. Oh, so the other thing we got at registration as part of our swag, which we get every time, is, and I'm realizing that I started putting things away because, again, I thought I'd done this video, so I may have to get up and grab some things at some point. But we always get a bag, and this year's bag I really loved. I loved last year's too. I think most people did. But this one's really different and still great. So it's this really thick, heavy-duty rubber, kind of like a bucket. Maybe it's called a bucket bag. I don't know. If you know, tell me in comments. But you can hopefully see the Stampin' Up logo there if I catch the light properly. And it had 2 different handles. So if you were watching on social media, I posted a picture of it. It came with these handles on it, which I really like. They're kind of this like natural rattan with faux leather. And so those can go back on there. They just twist on. But these, I kind of feel these are like vacation mode, and this is like business mode. And just like heavier duty, more durable. So it was good for carrying around the conference that way. But check out the inside of this. It has all these great pockets. So it has a zipper pocket here, and then another pouch behind that, and then a pouch behind that. And then you could even slip things between this kind of fabric insert and then the outside of the bag. You've got a place here, like for a water bottle. Let me see if I can hold this so you can see it right here. And you also have a key holder, little clip there. On this side, actually, maybe I should turn it. Oh, but you're seeing this really well. Okay, so I'll show this. So you've got 2 elastic that are top and bottom that you could slide like a take your pick tool in. And then 2, can you see? I'm blocking it. 2 like pen holders there. And then if I turn it, you've got 2 more pockets that go through, but then another couple pockets that have bottoms that you could put things in. And again, you could go between the liner and the wall. So really great organization for crafting and anything else I want to do with it, but certainly crafting is the thing. So I think that was all of our swag at check-in. Let's see. I'm looking at pictures on my phone and the what's it called? Agenda as well. I'm going to want to come back to show you some of the gifts and swag items that I made. And I'm realizing one of them I gave away since doing this video the last time. So you'll just have to check out pictures of some of it, some of which I've posted and more of which is to come. But yeah, so after checking in, I kind of hung out and got the lay of the land at the convention center so I would know where to go for what at the different parts of the conference. And then met up with my roommates. So my good friends Lisa and Fran were my roommates again this year. Thank you both so much again for having me as a roommate again. And so we had a really good time together. We met up and went to lunch, and then came back to the convention center for the opening main stage event. So main stage is when everyone's all together in one room for different presentations on, there's creative presentations using new products so we can see projects and be inspired for things to make with those. There's business presentations. There's kind of state of Stampin' Up, or they called it What's Up at Stampin' Up this year, presentations to know what's going on with the company. So there's recognition, all sorts of things. And I'll get into some more specifics on that. But the first night was also our welcome party. I guess before I talk about the welcome party, though, I mentioned recognition. So I said earlier there are 3 categories that you could get ribbons for: leadership, team building, and sales, and then also overall performance. But not only do they celebrate kind of the success that people can have in their Stampin' Up! Businesses, but also things like loyalty. And so you are recognized at a year and then every 5 year that you are a demonstrator consistently or consecutively. And so for the first year, they had people stand and wave to the crowd and we all cheered. 5-year anniversary is the first time that you're allowed to actually walk across the stage. And they are playing music and everyone's cheering. And so I got to do that this year because last year when I was at OnStage, it was actually the month of my 5th anniversary, but they do it by the Stampin' Up! Fiscal year rather than the calendar year. And so I knew that I'd actually have to wait to walk till this year. And I wasn't sure, like I said, if I'd actually be there, but I was. So I danced across the stage and was clapping my way across for everyone else who was celebrating as well. But that was very exciting. Even though I did sign up with Stampin' Up! 9 years ago now, because again, this year was actually my 6th anniversary. It was just delayed celebration of my 5th. But I actually had signed up twice before that. So I guess 8 years ago. Sorry, 8 years ago. I'm making myself older than I am. So 8 years ago, I signed up for the first time, but I had to try 3 years in a row in order to make it work. And so it's been now 6 years consecutively. And again, my 5th anniversary celebrated at OnStage, which is very exciting. But the welcome party the first night had an all-white theme. So we were encouraged to dress in all white. And then they had like all sorts of kind of disco lights and things like that. I had thought, how cool would it be if they had the new in colors? Because that's always a big reveal at these events with new annual catalog is what are our next 2 years of like on-trend colors? We call them in colors. And so I thought it'd be cool if they had different stations where they could like flash the different color lights on us, and with our white, it would show up really, clearly, right? But I didn't expect that they would actually have that. But there was a disco ball and lots of colored lights, and we had like glow stick wands and things like that. And it was a silent disco, which was my first one of those. And I thought it was brilliant because they had some quiet music playing in the background. But if people wanted to just chill and talk, they could do that comfortably. And then there were those of us who were jamming out with the headphones on. So you had these big over-ear headphones that were blasting music. There were 3 stations, old school, new school, and girl power. And they ended up kind of blending throughout the night. I didn't really notice a difference, but it was fun that you could click through and really just like get down to whatever song was moving you. And then they were also encouraging us to sing. So it kind of turned into really bad karaoke too. Not that I'm ever good at karaoke, but was particularly bad because I couldn't hear myself at all. And it was really fun occasionally to like take the headphones off and listen to everyone else singing badly. And also watching the different people dance because, you'd be dancing one style and they would be doing something totally different because they're just dancing to a different song. But we had a lot of fun at that. They had heavy hors d'oeuvres and desserts. And so we made a whole meal out of it. And I ran into some friends because that's one of the great things about these events is not just the friends you get to go with, but the other friends you get to meet up with, like teammates and friends that I made when I lived in Florida, that I've made virtually that I got to meet in person. And so the reunions began that first night, which was a lot of fun. I also got to like reunite with some of the Stampin' Up! Home office staff members that I've met before. And I'm always so touched when they remember me because there's a lot of us. There was over 2,000 of us at the event. and over 40,000 demonstrators worldwide. And so, like my demonstrator development manager, or our demonstrator development manager for the Northeast region, Elizabeth Belleville, I ran into her a couple times that first day and was really excited to see her. And again, really touched that she always remembers me, which is really, really good of her. So yeah, so that was the first day. I don't think I have any other swag per se to show you from the first day. But let me see what else I do have for you. Oh, yes, I do. Okay, so that first night, and they don't always do this, but I thought it was really smart of them to do this. The first night they gave us the new annual catalog, which everyone is, so excited to see. And let me hold it so you can see every bit of it. So this is all I can show you so far. I can only show you the cover, but you can see some great product on there. And much more to come. So this will go live on Tuesday, May 6th, and I'll be having my usual catalog launch party to share everything in this with you. I'll have projects using the new product and give away prizes. And so definitely mark your calendars, Tuesday, May 6th at 8 p.m. Or you can catch it on the replay if you're not able to join us live. But I'm really excited to share that with you. I really like this year's catalog. It's kept some of, I think, the good things about the format changes they made last year, but also incorporated some things that we missed from the past based on the feedback. Because again, Stampin' Up! Really cares. Their demonstrators are their most important partner, and they really do listen to us and trust and respect us, and so they take that feedback seriously. So I'm just looking through my pictures to see if there's anything else from that first night that is like can't be missed to mention. And I also took some notes on some of the presentations, so I'm going to check that real quick too. Thanks for your patience. I guess the benefit of watching this on replay is you can always fast forward. So I think that's it from the first night. So then day two. So day two started with main stage again. We had, so I guess to mention times in case you want to know, that first night we had 2 hours of main stage 4 to 6, and then the welcome party 6 to 8. The next morning we had main stage from 9 to 12:30, although I think we were let out a little early, like maybe at 12. And so that morning, again, there's always a combination of different types of presentations and recognitions. We did have Sarah's keynote that morning, I believe. And whenever we had it, I mean, that's just always a highlight. She does such a good job, always bringing in, connections to things she's researched or read or just learned in other ways and really making it meaningful. And she's such a gifted presenter, really personable and yet polished. And so you can really tell that she's prepared and she cares, and it's always inspiring. So this year, the thing that really stood out to me is like the heart of her message, which she started out with this kind of activity as an analogy. So she talked about different foods and asked us to think, what are the main ingredients? And then, what are the ingredients? And then what's the main ingredient? And it was kind of funny because I think her first example was s'mores. And she's like, what are the ingredients? Graham cracker, marshmallow, chocolate. She's like, okay, and what's the main ingredient? And everyone was saying different things, and a lot of people said chocolate. She was like, oh, maybe this is not going to be as easy as I thought. Because she said, I thought it was going to be marshmallow. But then they got a little easier. She was like, peanut butter cookies. And so we listed the ingredients. And what's the main ingredient? Peanut butter. So anyway, but she said then, to think about what the ingredients are in stories, as she shared some stories from fellow demonstrators. And she was reading the stories in their words, and it was really moving. She got emotional. I think a lot of us got emotional. I remember, I took a picture of a couple of the quotes. There was one story of a demonstrator who was caring for her ailing, aging parents and wasn't sure she should continue her Stampin' Up! Business to, maybe really more focus on their care. And her dad said to her, apparently, this Stampin' Up! Thing is bigger than us. You can't stop bringing joy to so many. And that was just one of many touching stories. Another quote from one person, and I think this related to a story of a woman who went through just an absolute heartbreak that I won't go into details of here, but absolute heartbreak, and reached out to her demonstrator as her person to just be there with her through that, even when there were no words, just the companionship. And I think that's what this quote related to. It could certainly relate to many stories of comfort, but it says, you can be the reason someone feels a little less alone in the world. And I know Sarah's really been focused on eradicating loneliness, is how she says it. And she talked about that some more. So again, she's sharing these stories with us. And And she asked us, okay, so, what are the ingredients in those stories? And then what's the main ingredient? And she said, it's you, it's the demonstrators. And again, she was emotional talking about it. And it is so clear. And it always is to me, but I know it isn't always to others. And so I hope, what is clear, I should say, is that Stampin' Up! Really does value and care about its people, and specifically its demonstrators. And I think it's really good for people to hear examples of that being expressed like this, um, because sometimes I know there can be doubt. And again, I don't tend to feel that, at least in the time that I've been with Stampin' Up, but I know others do, and I think that's natural. But I definitely think there's reason to be reassured. So, anyway, for those who couldn't be there, I wanted to share that with you. So after all the morning session, the main session, we had our lunch, but much more than lunch. It was also our time for make and takes, and then the product playground, which is one of my favorite things at OnStage. And so let's see, let me get my make and takes, because that was the one thing I realized I kind of moved. So let me grab it from back here, somewhere back here. Here it is. Okay. So the first day, Prize Patrol was actually our supplies for the make and takes. So we got this stamp set. This is new from the next annual catalog, Layered Thoughts. And this was $1 million sales achiever set. So it was designed in part with Barb Brimhall. Congratulations, Barb. I think that'd be so much fun to get to design product. Actually got to meet some of the product designers at Product Playground, and it was kind of towards the end, so they were on their way out. We didn't get to talk for long, but I just said, I think your job sounds so fun. Thanks for what you do. So we got this stamp set, and then we got a couple paper supplies. So we got the large and small memories and more cards and envelopes, just one of each, is what I'm about to show you. And we also got, and I put that away too. We got this Celebration, Expressions, Memories, and More card pack. And then we got a little envelope of some foil embellishments that I'll show you on that project. But let me show you this card pack first, because these are always hard to see in the catalog and even online. And of course, it's not going to be as good as in person, but I feel like a video is the next best thing. So here's one of the 4x3 cards. It says thank you in a bunch of languages. I like when they do that. And that's the reverse side. And then this one, which you'll see, we did some fussy cutting to put that on our projects. And there were instructions at each lunch table of how to make well, I guess just really a picture. But we're all demonstrators. We were able to figure it out together, I think, at least for the most part, how to make the projects as intended. And, you can always go your own way with it too, of course. Here's some more of the 4x3 cards. On the reverse side. I really like the colors in this pack. Really bright. And it's all kind of like watercolor wash, so kind of artistic looking, which I like. Oh, this one says, whoops, what a crowning achievement. Whoops. And that's the reverse. So those are all the 4x3s. And then there's also the 4x6. I really like that this has these little balloon animals on it. I think that's so fun. Whoops. That's the reverse of that one. A bunch of words like wish and celebrate. And then, I really like this one with the sparkles above the candles, and the reverse of that one. This reminds me of a scene from Cinderella, when she's washing the floors and all the bubbles come up and there's all the visions in the bubbles until Lucifer comes in and pops them all. Anyway, it's a stretch perhaps, but my mind is always, at least in the back of my mind, thinking Disney, I guess. So the first day, like I said, we made 2 cards. So we made this little mini card. So we had a black marker on the table to draw. I was really nervous about this, but to draw these lines. Let's see, how can I do this? These lines. And you drew one on the flags and drew those little black hearts. And we tore one of the cards. And then also did some fussy cutting flags for our envelope. So that was one little card. And then the second one was this one, same kind of thing. So there's a full card on the back, And then we tore another card, drew the lines, did the stamping. And this one of the other pieces of the card we tore, we put on the envelope. You see where that came from? It would have been like the other half. Sorry, it's so hard when the camera does the flip thing. So those were the projects the first day. I'll try to remember to pull in the project from the second day for you. But let me show you some things from Product Playground. So like I said, this is one of my favorite parts of OnStage because you get lots of behind the scenes information and sneak peeks of upcoming product. And it's really interactive. Like there's different activities to engage in. And I took lots of pictures in this, so I will post them on my social media in the near future, hopefully. But there's also some takeaways from the different stations. And so I'll show you those for now, at least. So let's see what we got here. I've got a little envelope of them. Okay, so one station talked about the different events that Stampin' Up! Does throughout the year. And each event had a different sticker. So I got all these little stickers like, let's get creative at Creativity Now. So actually, while I'm showing you these stickers, let me, I could do it in my words, but I want to do it like officially in the Stampin' Up! Descriptions. So let me tell you what these are if you don't know. So this is for all demonstrators only, but it's a half-day creative virtual event. So no business, all crafting. And that is in June. This is a new one, which I think is going to be really exciting to people. I know I'm excited about it. The virtual album retreat. Memory keeping is where it's at, it says. So this, like I said, is new. It is going to be in July this year, and then it will alternate. So next year it will be in April. And this is everyone, demonstrators and customers. So it's a 3-day virtual gathering where crafters come together to create beautiful pages for a scrapbook album while enjoying artistic tips and conversations. It's going to be 3 days, and I think we already found out there's no registration fee when you buy the products to make I think it's 12 by 12 layouts. That is your registration. I think it's going to be $250 for all those products. So more information to come on that, but we did get a little bit more about that since OnStage, and it's exciting. World Card Making Day. Who's in? Tell me in comments if you're in on World Card Making Day. This one's free. So if you're like, ooh, $250, I don't know if I can do that. This one you can do. So this one's in October. Again, it's everyone, demonstrators and customers, a free 1-hour virtual event to come together as a crafting community to do what we all love, make crafts. All right, next year's OnStage. I'll be at next year's OnStage. Will you? That's what the sticker says. I would love to be at next year's OnStage. Spoiler alert, I'm going to skip ahead. We found out on the last day of OnStage that next year's North American location is Long Beach, California, which I think would be epic. Is that kind of a Californian term? I feel like a surfer saying that. But it's also 30 minutes from Disneyland. So talk about visiting friends. I mean, I'd love to visit my good old pal Mickey, but we'll see. We'll see if I can afford that. If you're someone who supports my business, thank you, because it will only be with your help that would be possible. But of course, like I'm talking about, OnStage is a demonstrator event, a multi-day immersive experience, giving ample time to enjoy inspirational presentations, recognition for accomplishments, and new products in action. Backstage is also a demonstrator event. I'm working to qualify for Backstage. Would love to qualify for Backstage someday. So this is in November, and it's for demonstrators who have a title of Silver Elite or above. So I've been as far as Silver. Silver Elite would be the next step. And it's a multi-day global business conference for leaders to learn, network, and cultivate both business and personal development. I'm aiming to earn the incentive trip. I would really love that someday. So that is for demonstrators who earn a certain number of points based on sales, leadership, team building. And it's an exciting trip filled with relaxation, entertainment, adventure, and celebration. This year it is in Disneyland. It's in May, I believe. And next year it's going to be in Alaska. On the last day, they also showed us the recap video of last year in Mexico and the preview for the Alaskan cruise. And I know it's just such a special vacation. Demonstrators get to take one person with them that's paid for, and I think they can add in cost to have others, like other family members or friends, join. I would love to earn it and take probably my mom. She's been one of the biggest supporters of this business, and just, of course, me in everything I do. So is my dad, and so have a lot of people. But my mom is my fellow like traveler at heart. And then I'm reaching for the stars. Let's see, what was this one for? Oh, this was for the Million Sales Retreat. So maybe someday I'll get $1 million in sales and get to help design a product and go to this retreat. It's in September, and it's elite demonstrators who've reached a million CSV, which is in the US equivalent to $1, who've reached that milestone in career to date personal sales. It's a unique personalized retreat in Salt Lake City, which is where the home office is, where achievers are rewarded for their epic milestone with memorable experiences. And it should be noted that the level of sales to achieve this milestone requires significant work and is accomplished by a substantially small percentage of demonstrators. I've heard it's like less than a point. It's like 0.1 or 0.01 or 0.001. It's very small, but maybe someday. We had someone named Brandy Cox. If you don't already know her, if you are in crafting, you probably do know her name. And she was at OnStage, and they celebrated her earning over $5 million. She's the first and only person to have done that so far, over $5 million in sales. Very impressive. And she seems quite young. So it's not like she's, necessarily been a demonstrator for all 35 years that Stampin' Up! Has been around. Maybe she has, but I don't think so. So anyway, so that was one station at Product Playground, was the Experience Stampin' Up! Community station with all those stickers and information about the events. And then there was also a sign telling us about connection points, like the Demonstrator Planning Place for demonstrators. That's a Facebook group. As demonstrators, we also have the ability to do accountability groups, which I did one summer. And Sarah's CEO Facebook page, that's open to everyone. She does lives every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. And I really enjoy those. She does a lot of crafting, but then like behind the scenes. And I don't know that she ever really can do sneak peeks, but she does a great job, and she'll sometimes bring in other people from the home office as well. And so that's available to everyone. And then there's a Stampin' Up! Leaders Facebook group as well, which, again, you have to be at a certain level to participate in. But let's see what other little swag items I got here. Okay, so this bookmark, you might get a sneak peek of some more DSP from that scene DSP I was mentioning on some of the other swag items. This was from a station where we could take an idea and also give an idea. And so let me find my picture for this one. So they had this big board. Oh, there it is. Give an idea, take an idea. And it said, what life events or occasions inspire you to craft? Write your favorite or most interesting reason to craft on the board. Then take a bookmark and write down an idea from the board you want to try when you get home. And I just took pictures, and I still need to read through them to take my idea. But the idea that I gave was one-of-a-kind personalized projects. That's my favorite reason to craft. All right, another station was the paper pumpkin station, which I love. And I actually got to meet up. I'm looking for my pictures, but I got to meet up with my other virtual, until now, friends from the Paper Pumpkin Possibility blog hop. And not all of them, but several of them were there. I think there was like a half a dozen of us that got together and got to connect in person and get a picture. But that station had a couple other things going on. So they had sneak peeks of April, May, and June's kits, which we've all been able to see already. But then they also had this activity where you spun this wheel of numbers, and it said to check out the wheel for creative ways to reach out to your contacts and share Paper Pumpkin with them. So depending on where it landed, you wrote down the idea that corresponded to that number and the name of the person you're going to talk to about Paper Pumpkin. So I got number 15, which was your relative who enjoys making holiday decorations. And so I wrote on my card my granny, because she is always going all out for Christmas. She'd have been a great Mrs. Claus. And then my cousin Sam, who's big at decorating and I think would enjoy doing that at the holidays too, maybe with a kit. So I might reach out to them and ask about that. But at least it was fun to be thinking of them. And there's lots of other ideas. Again, I'll try to post this picture to share. There were 16 ideas total for things to do. They also had a celebration of the top Paper Pumpkin sellers of all time. And while we were there with our Paper Pumpkin Possibilities blog hop group, 2 of them came up and were taking pictures with their pictures. That was cool. Rachel Tessman, who I love to follow on the Paper Pumpkin Fan Club Facebook group, which is open to everyone. That's a great place for inspiration, and she runs that very well. And I met her at last year's On Stage. She was very friendly, so I like her a lot. And then Tammy White, who I haven't had the pleasure to meet, but I know is another big name due to her success in Stampin' Up. Probably my favorite thing at that station, the Paper Pumpkin station, was to check out the most popular Paper Pumpkin kits for every year from the start. So Paper Pumpkin started in 2023, and then they had through 2024, because of course, too early to know for 2025. They had a picture of the most popular kit from each year. And so for those of you who do Paper Pumpkin, I'll be curious what you think the most popular would be. Share, maybe for last year, at least that's an easy one to remember, 2024, at least easiest, I would think, to remember. And then I'm going to post this and you'll get to see what they were. Some of them were my favorites as well. And I wasn't at all surprised because I knew they'd been, or if they weren't my favorite, they were ones that I knew had been popular. And then there were some that, I had never even seen because I wasn't doing this back in 2013. So that was fun. So let's see, three more stations to tell you about that have swag items, and the rest, maybe we'll just share pictures later because I still have, I forgot. I did this last week. I knew I was going to forget things. I forgot to kind of go over what I would be sharing with you. So sorry I didn't kind of give you an agenda at the start of this, but I still have all my swaps, which you're going to want to see, which of course don't have new product on them, but there's some great inspiration for things to do with current product. And I did a fun fold swap and a 3D swap. So those are just great like project ideas. So we're going to get to those. So some of the things that can just be saved for photos, I will save for photos, I guess. But another station, we got this postcard, which we can color in, kind of fun, 1, 2, 3. And the idea for this one was to write down your 3 ideas for finding new customers from the board. And I'll tell you how it was a fun way to get those ideas. Once you try those 3 ideas, send your postcard to Stampin' Up by June 1st and be entered to win a product reward for added fun color in the front of your postcard before you send it in. So this one, I believe, yes. So this was one of the really, again, they're all interactive, but this was a really interactive one where they actually had these like ping pong balls that had Velcro on them, and they had 12 different Velcro squares on the big like stand at the station. And so you would throw the balls, and whichever 3 boards you hit, like a bullseye dart game, then those were your ideas. And so that was really kind of a fun way to get 3 new ideas, or 12, because I took pictures of all of them, and I'll probably try to use as many of them as I can. Okay, so then let's see. The last 2, I think, are probably the most fun. I mentioned bingo earlier. That's how I won that I Love What I Do pin. And so this was our bingo game that we got to play with fellow demonstrators. You can see all the signatures. And it was kind of madness. It was just like trading with people and signing, and probably didn't accomplish the goal of like getting to connect as much because we were all in just a rush, unfortunately, but still a lot of fun. So it was network with other demonstrators on stage by filling your bingo card. When you find someone who fits the criteria in a square on your bingo card, have them sign that square. Try to find a different demonstrator to sign each square. Once you fill your card, come to the info booth for a prize, that pin. So I guess instead of doing it throughout on stage, a lot of people were just doing it right there at the station. But I did get to have a great conversation with a Stampin' Up employee named Bevan, because one of the things we had to do was take a selfie with a scrapbooker and then get their autograph. And pen wasn't really working at that point, but that's Bevan's autograph. He was one of the employees working the station, and I asked him, do you scrapbook? And it turns out he has not only worked at Stampin' Up for a very long time, he's worked in the crafting industry for a very long time, and has been kind of on the forefront of some of the scrapbook things. Like, for instance, this is not a Stampin' Up thing, but he, I guess, had helped in selling the very early what became Cricut machines to brick and mortar craft stores, and just had such an interesting history and story, and was so friendly. And so I had a really good connection with him. I really enjoyed meeting him, and it seemed like it meant a lot to him too, from what he said to me. And so that was a great connection that came out of this bingo. But I can, I guess, read through real quickly what we had to get for our bingos if you're curious. And I would love, love, love to see in comments like me, say me when I say one that is true of you. So someone who can't live without Wink of Stella. If you don't know what these things are, by the way, ask. Put that in comments and I'll tell you. Someone who holds kit classes or clubs, because remember, these are demonstrators. Someone who uses their clear blocks as stamps. Someone who holds a new catalog event every year. Someone who has a swap card with embellishments. It's true. I had to for my organized swaps. Who used ribbon or trim on their swaps. Once again, I had to do that. Who has the same favorite color as you. That was kind of a hard one because there's so many good colors. I already mentioned the one I did with Bevan, and then someone who uses Stampin' Seal Plus. Someone who already has a favorite stamp set in the new catalog. I signed that for a lot of people because there's one with birds. Need I say more? Someone who has the same favorite DSP in the new catalog as you. Someone who watercolors with ink refills. And then we had like the free space, which was just what year did you start with Stampin' Up, which kind of like earlier, like took me a little while to figure out because of how many times I tried, but 2017, that was when. Someone who's always cold, so they didn't all have to do with crafting, but most of them did. Someone who can't craft without a snack. Someone who has lipstick or lip balm with them. Someone who loves their circle punches, who takes their water bottle everywhere, who has a Stampin' Right marker with them, who owns both the regular and mini machines. I'm not waving on all these ones that are true for me because a lot of them are true for me. Someone who owns the 2024 to 2026 in color classic Stampin' pads, who has accidentally snipped themselves with their snips. Ouch! It literally says ouch, and I mean it. Like when that woman signed mine, I was like, I'm so sorry. I hope you're okay. Someone who sends out birthday cards, who stamps on their envelopes, and who owns more than one paper trimmer. So that was fun. There's actually a version of this in the catalog for customers, and it's really more based on products, like which products do you already have, so you can kind of see like what level of crafter are you, and what else might be helpful to you. So anyway, that was a lot of fun. And then, oh my gosh, there is more. Sorry. Wow. I keep saying there's like 2 more and 1 more, but I just saw there's even more than that. So 3 more at least to tell you about from Product Playground. But this was hours, both days. So we had from at least 12:30 to 3:30 the first day, and then at least 12:45 to 3:15 the second day. And I think we ended up with longer both days because things would end early. So this is a big part of OnStage. In fact, I wanted to look back at last year's agenda because it did seem like the main stage presentations were scheduled for less time this year and then even ended early, except for the last one, which went late, which I think we were all fine with because it was the end. We didn't want it to end. And Sarah was presenting, so need I say more? But anyway, I just was curious how it compared to last year. But I was happy to have the time in Product Playground. So this next one I wanted to tell you about was one of my favorites. It was try your hand at naming a new Stampin' Up color, which again seems like such a fun job to have at Stampin' Up. And I know a couple things. They always do alliteration. They have to have words under a certain letter count, which I can't remember the letter count, but that way they'll fit on like the stamp pads. So they had all these hues up on the board, hues of color, and it said take a paper in the hue of your choice, write a name idea for your favorite shade or tint of that hue, extra points for alliteration, then add your paper to the wall. And I kind of misunderstood. I don't think I read that. And so I thought, I went for brown, and I thought like this was the color brown we were supposed to name, not just like any color brown. So this is not necessarily a Stampin' Up color coming, but they just were curious for names for browns. And so I went with Brown Bear or Berry Brown, Peary. Alliteration and a pun. So anyway, so that was my suggestion. There was also a personality test component to it that I missed, but was excited to find later. And that was this. So these were all the colors they had up there: brown, red, pink, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and black, gray. And apparently the color that you resonate with might say something about your personality, or you could, just find what resonates with your personality and then know your color. But I first read, okay, what is brown? Because that's the one I gravitated towards, not knowing about the personality test. And actually, once I read through them all, I think that is the most fitting for me. So, these are all positive, so I don't mean to brag. This is just what I resonate with most. Not that I'm always able to do this, but it says brown is comfortable. Its easy presence gives warm, supportive energy. That's certainly what I strive for, at least. And then it talks a little bit more about crafting with brown. It says it's subtle, yet adds the perfect contrast to a variety of paper crafts. So I'll post this, and you can maybe take the personality test yourself and see what your color says about you, or what your personality then reflects in terms of a color. This is fun. The 2 stations that I had forgotten about, that we actually got to interact. Well, we got to interact with new project a few, but these we got to have takeaways, so I can show you. The new in colors. So if you haven't already seen, there were 2 of the 5 new in colors that I got to see early and shared where I could. And you might have seen them too, because there's an online exclusive. There were a few online exclusives that had one of the colors, which is called Strawberry Slush. So we saw that in the last online exclusive release. And then in the most recent sneak peek of the next quarter of Paper Pumpkins, we saw Timid Tiger. But then there were 3 new ones that I had not seen until OnStage. And so here are all 5. So I mentioned Strawberry Slush and Timid Tiger, which is not quite as bright as I thought it was because I was thinking there's nothing timid about that. But in person, it's a little more subdued. Um, and then I'll start over here. So cloud cover, which I really like, kind of like uh, a dull, but not in a bad way, blue. And then Darling Duckling, which is quite similar to Daffodil Delight, just maybe a little more mustard-like. And then Secret Sea, which was the hardest for me to know what it was without seeing it in person. And even on this video, you're probably really not able to see it as much as in person. Like I can already tell in the video it's showing up lighter, which actually might help. Because to me, I was like, is it really, really dark, pretty peacock? Like a really dark kind of blue-green? Is it more green? Is it more blue? I would say there's no green in it. It is a dark denim, like practically black blue. That's what it looks like in person, and I really like it. It's really deep and rich, and I like the name Secret Sea. But anyway, those are your 2025 to 2027 in colors, or are in colors. And you will notice that the stamp is missing here. So they gave us these little squares of cardstock. We could stamp in the ink, and then we could write with the marker with both the painter end and the pen end. So literally, and I talked to the woman who discovered this. Sarah announced it the first night maybe, or the first day. And then when we were at Product Playground that first day, it came up with one of the workers I was with, and she was like, actually, it was this woman here who discovered the issue. But literally the night before on stage, when they were setting up Product Playground, this is my understanding, and they were practicing making these sheets and doing the stamping, this woman who I met, but I don't think I got her name, realized that the color was shifting in the ink pad. Just the chemistry can do that sometimes. And so it wasn't meeting quality standards because it wasn't coming out to match the way that Stampin' Up! Is famous for with their color coordination. And so they actually decided to pull it, which I really admire Stampin' Up! For. And Sarah announced it so well. Like, she was so apologetic, not that she needed to be sorry, but she was like, you know, she even made light at one point, like, this is the news you love to get right before an event. But the whole crowd just, you know, cheered for her to show support, because I'll just speak for myself. I know we can trust Stampin' Up! And I appreciate that they only want to live up to their high standards of quality. And so hopefully they'll be able to resolve that issue and we'll get the ink soon. But all 5 ink colors I think are great. My favorites, and I want to know yours, my favorites are either Cloud Cover or Secret Sea. I'm between the two, and I can't quite decide yet. But anyway, I think they're great. And then we also got to play with the two-tone cardstock, which we've had some of this come out. But now in the new catalog, we're going to have every single Stampin' Up! Color in the two-tone cardstock. And that includes last year's in colors, it includes this year's in colors, and it includes basics like basic black, basic beige, very vanilla. And so you can see best the two-tone here, because otherwise you're just seeing one side, and so one shade, but you have a light or a dark side and a light side. And we got to do these 4 techniques. So this is folding it, and that's why you can see the two-tone there. This was probably my favorite. This is sanding it. So we actually had sandpaper blocks, and we could sand it because there's white core in this paper. And I know Stampin' Up! Has always, like with pride, talked about how their cardstock is dyed through and it's higher quality because of that, because it doesn't have the white core. It's not that this is lower quality, it's just another option, because then you can do things like tear it, which it's hard because it's mounted on white, but then you can see the white edge, which sometimes is a cool technique. It's also maybe not quite as thick as cardstock. I would say it's like between cardstock and DSP weight, at least to my feel. And it's often used a lot for scrapbooking. It comes in 12 by 12. And I guess last, the crumple technique. So that just shows you a few different things that you can do with the two-tone paper. I'm really excited to get that. Okay, so I know that's a lot about Product Playground, but let me see if there's anything else I should share with you before just relying on pictures for the rest. So yeah, I guess I will. I'll try to do it quickly. And again, if you're watching on replay, you can always skip ahead. If you're watching live and you need a break, you can take that break. I'm adjusting my seat here and readjusting my view. Okay, settled in. So another station was, what's your favorite reason to use a kit? And it was all about the kits collection. And I really want to know, what would your reason be? So they had stickers to represent the different reasons that they thought of, at least. And then there was a big picture of a box. Again, you'll see this on my social media, that we would fill in with the stickers. And so the options are birthdays, celebrations, holidays, get well, thank you, thinking of you, crafting with all ages, decor, and memory keeping. And you might think, I haven't seen a lot of kits in some of those categories, but that just means more to come. So we're getting 3 kits next month. We always get at least 2 for the last year, more than a year now. And again, some months 3. So more to come in some of these categories, especially, I think. I ended up saying decor because that's something kind of unique to kits in my mind. I mean, you can make home decor items out of any products, but I like the kits that kind of make that easier for you. Like, I don't know if you can actually see. Oh, I was trying to move out of the way, but you can't. But hanging off that doorknob back there, I have the wreath that they came out with. And so I'd love to see them come out with more decor kits. Again, I would love to hear yours in the comments. Just looking at the picture I took, I think a lot of people said holidays was their reason. There was also a lot of crafting with all ages, it looks like, or maybe these are just the colors that stand out. um, there was a lot of maybe thank yous and celebrations, birthdays. I think there's just a lot of them. And then we got to see some of the new kits coming. So some of them that they had pictured we've already seen, but we got to see pictures of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more. I'll just tell you the names and then I'll show these pictures later, but just to whet your appetite. Beautiful Blues, Essential Occasions. Those are both all occasion kits. And then for thank you kits, there's the new Loveliest Wishes. For all ages, this one's so fun. Pop-up pals. I'm sure you can get a sense of what that's going to be from the name. So cute. And then for decor and more, paper bouquet. It is what it sounds like. It's awesome. Very unique. I've not seen anything like that before. Another station they had was about loving what you do. And so they asked us why we joined. Why did you join Stampin' Up? Write your why on a flower and add it to the board. And they had all these little flowers. And so it became this like whole bouquet of people's reasons. And then also why I stay. Why do you stay at Stampin' Up? Write your why on a flower and add it to the board. So my answers for why I joined were I love arts and crafts, and the starter kit was the best deal. Still is. And then why I stay, I said I stay for accountability to do what I love and the community to share it with. So those are my whys. Let's see what other stations haven't I already told you about here. Oh, what memories are you keeping? So share an occasion or event that inspires you to scrapbook. Find ideas from our OnStage staff on the other side of the board. And so one side was like dry erase, and we could write our reason. And I wrote adopting my baby. So exciting. I'll be doing a lot of memory keeping for that, I hope. Might take a while, because I'm sure I'll be busy. And the other side, like it mentioned, had the flip flaps. It had a little display about fantastic flip flaps because that's a memory keeping supply that's coming. So you can add more photos and journal cards and different things like that to a scrapbook page. They had scrapbook page layouts with those flip flaps on them with pictures of the different members working at OnStage from the home office. And then they would have journal cards on the underneath because a flip flap you flip up or sideways or whatever. And it would kind of describe, what their reason for memory keeping was, maybe what their photo was of. And that was fun to look through all those. There was a board of new products to get to see and actually touch some of the new products coming. And there were some really cool things there. So I'll check out those pictures. They had Step into Scrapbooking, which was like a scrapbook layout that they had magnets you could put around and then props you could hold, and you could like get in the openings to like be the pictures. Then they had a board about share what you love, and it said I heart, and then it had all these things to choose from, like being a demonstrator, my team, mix and match, my customers, making a difference, hashtag simple stamping, and then you could get a picture with whatever it was that you love. I mentioned the bingo station, but on the big board was the version that was for customers from the catalog with all the different crafting supplies. They had a display of gathering. So they talked about, gathering people and building relationships since 1988. It's been 36 years now of Stampin' Up. Am I doing the math right on that? 37 years. Wow. So they talked about different ways to gather people, like going old school and handing out invitations, hitting send, so emailing, leveraging DBWS, which is the Stampin' Up website, or individual websites demonstrators can have through Stampin' Up, cross-promoting events, getting social media, and then providing incentives. They had a sign about join the challenge. The hashtag creative challenge, SU, and different project ideas on that. Or if you need creative ideas, they were reminding us of, and these might be helpful to remind you of, the Stampin' Up blog and their Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram pages. Of those, I use Facebook the most at this point, probably. And then I look up tutorials, sometimes videos on YouTube, and project ideas sometimes on Pinterest. That's what I use the most personally. They had signs for the different ways we can gather. So classes, and they would talk about like the what, the why, the how, and quick tips on that. Clubs, hosted gatherings, new customer gatherings. And then they just had some like great photo ops. And I actually was so excited. I was trying to meet up with members of the team that I'm on that is down in Florida primarily, but Southeast mostly. And there were a few of them there, and I really wanted to meet up with them. Some of them I hadn't actually met before, at least not in person. And some of them were old friends from when I lived there. And I, kept messaging them. They kept messaging me. We kept missing one another. And then all of a sudden, there they were in front of me, in front of like the main photo op at Product Playground. And they were all wearing their team T-shirts, except for me. I don't have a team T-shirt, but I was able to jump in the photo with them, and we got to reconnect and catch up some. And so that was a lot of fun. And I gave them these little gifts. Speaking of gifts and swaps, we'll get to swaps here shortly, but I made these little bookmarks for them for their new catalog. So I used the Full of Life DSP because it's just kind of artistic and I love the colors. And on the one side, the Stampin' Up logo from our postcards. And then on the back, you inspire me. So it's this big, thick bookmark with paper clips. That's what's keeping it together there. And so it can be slid on to like the top of a page or the side of a page. So I had different versions of that with different DSP for all of them. Another photo op was what's your go-to color? They had all these props that you could like put your face in and things like that and take photos. Let's see what else. That might be almost all of it. And you're probably like, good. I want to see your swaps. They had a sign about the rewards program that's going to be changing on April 15th and just helping us. Actually, no, it wasn't about that. It wasn't about the rewards program. It was about April sales incentive for demonstrators and a reward that we can earn for that. So that's what it was. And then a sign about, shopping everything on the website. So I think that might have been it from Product Playground. Again, thank you for your patience as I go through all this. Another thing I forgot to mention at the Paper Pumpkin station was they had alternates from last month's Hello Spring Kit, and those were being entered for 10 to be selected to be shown at this past week's alternate live that they do on the last Tuesday, I believe, of every month at 6:30 Eastern. And mine wasn't selected, but I did submit one. And so hopefully someone at the home office got to see and enjoy that. And I'll share that because that's something I haven't posted yet because I wanted to wait to see if it would be shared there yet or first. Let's see. I still have so many of the other things that demonstrators shared to read through myself, but I think that's it for Product Playground. So let's go back to kind of the schedule then. So after Product Playground, that first full day, we had a breakout session. There were 4 we could choose from. And I chose to go to You Need New Customers and They Need You. And that was with Natalie White, who's another DDM. And there was a lot really inspiring about that. I will say it was kind of my low point in energy for the day because it was after lunch and I hadn't slept well the last couple nights. And so I just tried to take good notes and take pictures of the slides and things like that. But she had us ask ourselves why customers need us and what our superpower is, which I thought was an interesting way of framing like our strengths. And we actually got to talk. I was there with my roommates, Lisa and Fran. And so we got to talk about like what one another's superpowers and strengths are, which was really encouraging. And then how we can use those to find new customers and not just find them, but to help them. And we talked about where we could find them and what to do when we meet them. The last question she asked us is, when others see you, what would you like them to see? And I said for that, I want them to see someone who cares, which I do. Sometimes I feel like I've been discouraged for like how much I care. And that can go out of balance, especially in a way that can be harmful to me or be taken advantage of. But I think it's a good thing. I think it's a really good thing to care. I know it's not always cool, but I'm not cool. I care. um, so anyway, so that was a really encouraging session, and that was it that first day. There was the onstage after hours experience, which was a pay to play experience, as they say, where you would buy product and then get to go and craft with it. And they would have examples of things you could do with one of the two bundles that you purchased. But my roommates and I decided not to do that. So we actually, as we were leaving our breakout session, I had been kind of feeling like I missed an opportunity the night before, because at the disco, the silent disco, Sarah had come and joined the dance floor, and everyone was taking pictures with her and talking with her. And actually, one of my friends was doing that, did the same thing. Like, she walked over to us, and it kind of took us both by surprise, because all of a sudden there she was, and my friend like threw her glow stick wand and was like, ah, and then was like scrambling, and like she said later, like couldn't remember how to use the camera on her phone. It was really sweet. But anyway, I was like, oh, I should have done it then, but I don't know. I just didn't. I didn't then. And I had a swap card that I had made that I wanted to give to her, and I just thought, oh, I missed my opportunity. But then, as we were walking kind of into the main section of the convention center, but still kind of on the edge where really no one was, like, we converged with Sarah and her assistant, who's so much more than her assistant. She does a lot with like legal Stampin' Up and lots of different things, but she's been introduced to me as Sarah's assistant. She was actually someone who I saw on registration day, and I was like, Sarah must be here. um, so it was really good to get to reconnect with both of them. And I immediately said to Sarah, I'm sure you don't remember me, but I met you at the 35 for 35 event that you came to in New Jersey. And before I could even finish, she said, oh, Hannah, of course I remember you. And again, like I said about Elizabeth Belleville earlier, and Sarah, even on a higher level, like having even more people who she works with to remember me. I just was so impressed. I mean, I admire her so much. I think it says so much about her that she can be so personal. And so anyway, we got to talk a little bit about OnStage. That's when I learned about the fact that they subsidized the event for us. And just I was just trying to affirm her for everything she does, everything Stampin' Up does, and how much we appreciate it. And we even talked a little bit about, like, Raleigh and where she'd recommend going for dinner. And it was actually the place she recommended was the place we were considering. And she was telling us what to order, or what she had ordered and enjoyed. And so it was just a good connection. And then when we were leaving, she was like, oh, and I love seeing you on social media too. I was just like, oh my gosh. So anyway, so I just always love getting to connect with her, whether it's in a big crowd or one-on-one. Like, that is really special. So thank you again, Sarah, for making me feel so special. They were, by the way, all the presentations of new product, all those projects were posted. And so I have pictures of that I'll be able to share with you. But I'm just mentioning that because I'm seeing, like, that day before we left, we took some pictures of those from, what had been presented so far. There were some other great photo ops around the convention center. Like, Stampin' Up had done this beautiful, I mean, they had signs everywhere, but they had done this beautiful display on this grand staircase in the main lobby, where, like, on every front of each stair, they had put a strip of what ended up being like the words like Stampin' Up, OnStage, and like these beautiful images all the way up the stairs. So we did like a whole photo shoot laying on the stairs, and that was kind of funny. And then out front of the convention center, there was a big like sign for Raleigh, and you could like crawl into the letters. And so we got pictures there. It was fun. We did have a great North Carolina barbecue dinner that night. And then right across from that restaurant was a chocolate factory. So we had to go check that out, and got to see how they make the chocolate and everything, and bought little chocolate cowboy hats. So anyway, that was day one. Well, full day one, day two. So last day, let's talk about that. So Saturday started with main stage at 9 to 11:30. Again, I think it ended a little early. I think that's when they did What's Up at Stampin' Up, and they talked about their 3 uniques, which I'd love if you think you know what they are. You have a second or two to say what you think they are. They are in no particular order, but I do think this is probably the order of priority. People. I mean, that's one of Stampin' Up's value. People first. Experiences, and then products. And so they talked about that, and how things are going, and how they're doing, and they're just always so responsible and transparent and just so good to work with. And when I say they, a lot of these presentations were by Sarah, And then the other leadership team member who was there, I meant to mention earlier, I did in my last version of this video, was Logan Sutherland, who's the VP of People and Culture. Let me make sure I'm getting that right. I think that's his title. Yes. And he's one of the few leadership team members that I haven't had a chance to meet at these events yet. And I've been really interested to meet because I do think like that's one of the most outstanding things about this company are the people. And everyone I see, hear from, meet, just are exceptional relationally. And I have given that feedback, like when we got to work with Brian for a 35 for 35 event, I told him that. And I know he manages like the demonstrator development managers who I've had that experience with too. And so, I told him, good on you, good on your team. And I wanted to tell Logan the same thing. So I did get to bump into him on one of the days and thank him for that and ask him the question I always ask, like, how does Stampin' Up do it? How do you get and train these people to be so good? And as always, as everyone always is, he was very humble about it, just saying, they get people who are really good already, and people who get it and, stay and, just are that good fit into, the culture that the community is. But I know it's a lot of work on his part and his team's part too. And so I got to thank him for that. I gave him one of my swaps as well as a thank you. And then he had been telling what he called dad jokes, which most people call dad jokes, like the whole conference, much to most people's chagrin. I was loving it because I love that kind of humor. Although there was one that went over my head. I was like, oh, I'm sure it's funny, but I don't get it. But when I get them, I always think they're so funny and fun. And so I shared with him my two favorite dad jokes, which I will now share with you, even if you don't want to hear them. But I didn't make them up. I can't take credit for them. I wish I could because I think they're great. And of course, in our house, they're going to have to be called mom jokes. And I don't know why they can't be called mom jokes anyway. Why do dad gets to be the fun, funny ones? But anyway, here's how they go. What makes a joke a dad joke? When it becomes apparent. And then the follow-up, how do you know when a dad joke has matured? When it becomes full grown. So anyway, so I got to tell him those. So thank you, Logan, for humoring me. Although, if you tell him you love him, I think, right? Right. All right. So what else was that day? Well, after the main stage sessions, we had a breakout session actually before lunch. And so for that one, I chose the one on the new reward system, making Stampin' Rewards work for you. And that was with DDM Heather Lambert. And if you saw my post with the different like perspectives of selfies, that was an activity from that workshop because she was talking a lot about how, our perspective on things is powerful and the power of positivity and, choosing that good angle or good perspective. And so that was the idea, was to take selfies from different angles, some good, some bad, and then choose the best. And so, that was kind of the framing of this change because change is hard and a lot of people are worried and there isn't reason to be worried necessarily. It's a change for the good for most people, but there can be hard things about it. And so it's just, again, like how we choose to frame that for ourselves and for the people we work with. I thought the most compelling thing was those earning rewards will go from 41% with the current reward system to 94% with the adjusted reward system. And so rewards program. That's a big difference. That's more than double, 41 to 94%. And so say no more, maybe, right? I mean, I think even if it's, hard to make that change for some people, that shows how worth making it is. So then we had lunch again with Make and Takes and Product Playground. Let me get you our other Make and Take. I'll be right back, I promise. Okay, so this one I already went ahead and framed, and I don't have my picture in there yet. There's going to be a picture right there in that blank spot, but it's a scrapbook page. So this is the black two-tone cardstock, I think on the darker side, and then that same set of memories and more cards. This is what's called White Willow, which was White Daisy from Close to My Heart. And when Stampin' Up partnered with Close to My Heart during their closing, they bought out their White Daisy product and just renamed it to White Willow because, again, alliteration. So we got to use that paper. It's just 12 by 12 white cardstock. Our same stamp set. And these were the gold foil hearts that I told you we got in our little packet for Make and Takes that first day. So there you have that scrapbook page, which I just went ahead and framed. So that was fun. I actually didn't make it till I came home because I wanted more time in the product playground. But then we had one more main stage session that afternoon from 3:15, supposed to be till 5:30. It actually went till like almost 6. But again, no complaints on my part. It was one of the best. So we got that last day our prize patrols. So there had been 3 numbers, and this year they gave us stamp sets. So last year we all got DSP, which if you know me, you know is my favorite type of product. But stamp sets are worth more, usually much more than DSP, like at least double on average. And I thought all 3 stamp sets they gave were great. So the one I won, I actually traded. So I can't show that to you. You'll see it all in the new catalog in about a month. But I think you'll know why I traded for Peaceful View. It's got a bird. One of the other stamp sets had a bird too. The one I won, again, I thought they were all great, but I just can't say no to a bird. And this is a background stamp unlike I've ever seen before. So it's a whole scene on one stamp, which I just thought was super cool. And I love, like, you know, even just the way you see it here, like seeing it as a silhouette. I've also seen versions of it in the catalog where it's colored like with sponge daubers, that you might have like a brown fence and tree trunk and then the green leaves. So I think lots of different ways to use that to make that beautiful scene. So I was very excited. Someone wanted to trade with me. They wanted mine. I wanted theirs. It was mutually beneficial. Such a good group of people. I mean, that's the best thing about these events is the people, whether it's the Stampin' Up leadership, the Stampin' Up staff, the fellow demonstrators, the people you knew going in that you get to connect with even more and like just feel even closer to after you've come back and had this shared experience, and the new friends that you make. Because people are just so friendly. We all share a passion for this creative endeavor and also a lot of the same values. Again, Stampin' Up being a family and value-based company. And I think it just draws people who have those same sorts of values, like people first. And so it's just a good time. But let's see. What else that last day? So that's when they recognized, they also recognized incentive trip achievers. I don't think I had mentioned that when I was listing some of the other recognitions earlier. They announced a little bit more about the upcoming events like Creativity Now, the virtual album retreat, World Card Making Day backstage, and next year's OnStage. And then the last product demonstration was of a suite called Turtley Cute, which is turtles. And it was Sarah and Logan's presentation. And all the presenters did such a good job. And some, had that really kind of fun, funny approach, but none like Sarah and Logan, because they were just pun after pun, both of them, with turtles. And they both wore Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle hoodies. So Sarah's was, I think, is it Donatello, who's the D? But of course, for her, it was Douglas, Sarah Douglas. And then Logan was the L for, in his case, Logan. I think that's Leonardo. But anyway, it was super fun. And one of my favorite things they did was they made a banner of turtles that they had cut out from the DSP doing all these different funny things. And they had one to represent each member of the leadership team. So I'll make sure I post about that. But like one of them's surfing, one of them's grilling, one of them's playing instruments. But some of them, like my favorite one is just so funny. It's a turtle with like a towel wrapped around its waist, a towel wrapped around its head, and like a smoothie. And just like, it's like spa turtle. It's so funny to me. And it was really kind of fun. Like they had us guess like who was who. Because again, each member of leadership team had kind of chosen the turtle that they felt best represented them. So that was just really fun. And then lastly, they showed us the recap video of OnStage. And I think there was footage like from that day. And one of the people I'd met last year who's on the audiovisual team for the event, Ben, I got to see again this year and say hello and thank him. And just, again, praise him for like, how do they do it? I don't know. They must stay up all night and then they must just be like cramming that last day to get their footage in to have the video ready to show us. But that's always fun to see. So, so many good ideas, so many good connections. And so much of that happens through swaps. So let me finally share my swaps with you that I made and received. I'm gonna have to turn on some lights because it's getting dark in here. Okay, we'll see if that holds us. All right, so let me move some things out of the way because these are going to take up a lot of space. And I hope you feel loved that I am doing this twice, getting out all the stuff I put away, making messes again. I hope someone enjoys it. Not that it's, not fun for me too, but yeah, it's always good to know that it's mutually beneficial. So, first, let me, I guess, show you what I made. So, well, actually, yeah, I'll get to that. So I'll just tell you, and this is what I gave away, so I'll have to just show you in pictures. But for my roommate gifts, I made these rotating star albums that one of my friends, Sharon, recently taught our group how to make. And so it starts out like this little square of paper, and it has a belly band. You slide that off, and then it opens up into this ring. It magnetizes and becomes this ring that then you can flip 4 times, and you get different pictures on the outside each time. And so I obviously didn't put pictures on it, but I made them that album for OnStage, and they can add their own pictures. And Fran, one of my roommates, had a similar idea and made us this little album with new paper. This is an online exclusive that I got recently, this black and white paper. And you might just think it, opens like this, and it could, but it's so much more fun when you pull it and it slides out. How cool is that? That's another one that she saw from our friend Sharon, but I think she figured out how to make it herself. And Fran is a great optimizer. She is a scientist, and so she's just really good at precision. So I loved that. And then my other roommate, Lisa, and you'll see I've opened this already. Let me see if I can kind of get it back together for you. So she made this bag. She sews and does all sorts of, in my opinion, like even higher level crafts than paper crafting. Sewing to me is like an artisan level thing. She made this beautiful tag to go with it. Thank you, friend. Thank you, friend. And then inside, she made these, which are these little phone stands. So my phone is currently charging, but you would, and you can see my cat picture on my phone. But if the charging cable wasn't in the way, and actually here, I'll just unplug it. You can see like this would sit, on the counter or in bed and hold your phone up like that. Sorry, you can also see all the fingerprints on my phone. But isn't that so cool? And she even made or added this little tag, which was a Stampin' Up embellishment once upon a time. Turn it so you can see it. And it says made with love. How cute. And then it also came with this, a Stampin' Up pop socket, which I just need to get a new phone case to be able to put that on. But so above and beyond. Yeah, I just was very humbled by her creativity and generosity. And that's so true of so many people. Like we met up with a couple other friends from the local demo group here. And one of them gave us, and I won't show it to you because the plastic bag is now almost empty, but it was like a survival kit for OnStage, and it had all these little snacks and treats. I will show you this. It had this ruler, which is so cool. It has OnStage 2025 like burned in there. And so that was from my friend Lynn. So sweet. In fact, I'll probably have some of those treats when I'm done recording here because they're looking good. And then a couple other things that a couple other things that I just got as gifts. These were from strangers. So this one is from Karen Flores, and I apologize in advance. I'm going to mispronounce people's names. And again, unfortunately, you're not seeing my first reaction to these because I opened them all for the first time on the video that didn't record. But I think this is so cool. She gave this to me because she was traveling. I believe this was the person I'm thinking of. She was traveling by herself, and she was trying to get a picture at the recognition area. They have something called the Recognition Hall of Fame, where they have all the names on a board of all the different achievers, whether it's like a success achievement or anniversary. So like my name was on there for the 5-year anniversaries. I think she was celebrating an anniversary as well, but no one was with her, and I offered to take her picture, and she gave me this as a thank you, which was so not necessary, but kind. So I love the little Stampin' Up logo, which I think is just like maybe a sticker, a piece of paper on the ruler, but I think that's so cute. And the little package it comes in, so cute as well. So thank you so much again, Karen. I hope you had a great OnStage. I told her, you might be traveling solo, but you're never alone. Got 2,000 of your newest friends here. And then this was made by someone named Laura. I don't have her last name. Oh, yes, I do. Laura. And I'm going to mispronounce this second name, I think. Pereira? No. Pereira. Malone, Laura Malone, sorry. But she was staying at our hotel, which was a little outside of town, and we didn't see her until the morning we were checking out. And at that point, we were all out of our swaps. So we said to her, like, so sorry, we're out of swaps, but she just gave this to us anyway. It's just a sweet little thank you gift. And it had a little treat in there. But yeah, hope your day is a real treat. So nice. And then this last one I actually did get as a swap. Sweet Friend. It has a bunch of gum in it. This was from Connie Kinchin, and so it's just this little tag added to a bag. But I remember when when she walked up to swap with us, we were like, "Oh, we don't have 3D items. Is that all right?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't care. I'm happy to trade with anyone." And so just a great attitude to have with people. I know for me, when I swap, it's about giving, and I really do mean that. Like, I'm not a naturally generous person, but I just mean in terms of like it's a way to connect with people, and I want to give them what I made. And I try not to really focus on like what I'm going to get in return. But I did get some great things in return, I will say. So let me put all those little gifts away and then show you all the other things, the rest of which are mostly cards that I got. So first I'll show you the cards I got just in general swapping, which is not organized. So just like as you're running into people maybe between sessions, especially that first day, like during registration, after people register, they're just walking around and you can see because they've got, projects they're pulling out of bags and trading with people. And then I'll show you my fun fold and 3D swaps that I did as part of organized swaps in advance. Those usually have more like rules and again, maybe a theme. And so you know a little bit more what you're going to get from those. So I tried to, when I showed these on the video last week, keep the names with them. So hopefully I can still tell you. Okay, so this one's actually very special because this is from Janie Becker, who is one of my friends that I'd only ever met virtually. She actually organizes the Paper Pumpkin Possibility blog hop. And so I got to meet her in person, which was so fun. And actually, even before we met up for the picture, I recognized her from her picture on Facebook. And she was sitting right in front of me during one of the sessions. And so I was like, Jamie, and got to connect with her a little bit extra there. But with love and thanks, that was her. Oh, and it's a fun fold. So it was her swap. Actually, by the time I swapped with her, I might have been out of swaps. So that might have been a gift too. Some of these, that's going to be the case because I only made so many. I think that's the case with this one. This was my friend Nina McMillan, who's one of my teammates. We both have the same upline. And so I love this with last year's In Colors, sending lots of love, and it has a little DSP on the inside there. Thinking of you, friend. Let's see who this one's by. This one maybe didn't have a name with it, but I love that die. This one is by Joyce Hall. You're a great friend. And I loved this bundle. It wasn't a full suite. There was a bundle, DSP, memories, and more. It's like it could have been a suite, but it wasn't. This one's by Joanne Brisbois. It's kind of a cool fold with this like almost little nest. And then look, hang on, let me get him. Let me get him to wiggle. Can't do it. There we go. He's on a little wiggler. You brighten my day. And on the inside, I've never seen something like this on the inside before. I thought that was unique. Happy we are friends. Thanks so much. And I really like the way they just kind of separated the DSP into strips behind there. And this is that one that has all the crustaceans, but notice no crustaceans on this card, which I really love because I love the colors. And I love the under the sea. I just don't love crabs and lobsters. This one is by Terry Stewart. Ocean Friends. That's the suite. Or at least that's the bundle. Happy birthday. I thought this was a good gender neutral or even traditionally masculine card. This is by Curly Girls Create, Donna Johnson, and it has an inside. Really well done. What I just noticed, she puts DSP on the back of her business card. That's clever. This one is by Lisa Jensen. And I like this one a lot. I think I kind of missed this set. I think it was an online exclusive. I think it should still be available because the one rule about no one's like holding people to it. But the suggestion from Stampin' Up for general swaps is to use current product only. So I think this must have been current, at least at the time. But some pretty embellishments in DSP and then let the adventure begin. This actually reminds me of Joanna Gaines from Fixer Upper. Her sister had, or at least had, maybe has that plant shop, Fernie's, and she has an old like Airstream camper that she works out of sometimes. So it reminds me of that. Marilyn San Clemente. I got to go to Waco to the Fixer Upper Empire last year this time when I was visiting my friend in Austin before going to Houston for OnStage. So anyway, it all connects. You make a difference. Thankful for you, friend. Most people seem to do full cards these days, although some people still do card fronts, but I think that was more common in the past. This one's by Deneen Rogowski, and some people really kind of go above and beyond. You've been on my mind, not only to, stamp insides, but this one actually came with a coordinating envelope. So thank you, Donna. Or Janine, sorry. Thank you, Janine. Just a little thank you. Looks like this one has a card inside. Yep. This one's by Pat Valenti. Hello. Look at that beautiful flapping butterfly. This one's by Sarah Groban. Trying to get the cards out before I show. Oh, so okay, this one is one of those card fronts. Oh no, it's not. Okay, it just was having trouble opening. Pam Nichols. I think I did get at least one that was just a card front, but that's easy enough to just add on to a piece of cardstock. This one is by Renee Kesey. You always lift me up. I love the pun. A lot of people had multiple options, since they would be walking around kind of like showing you like the 2 or 4, or one person just had like almost every single one was different, because she said, they were just like leftovers from her classes and things like that. And it was really hard to choose almost every time because you liked so many of them. But this was one of the ones I remember choosing just because it's something a little different, more less traditionally feminine. Hope you're feeling better soon. This one's by Maureen Rosenbaum. I think this is one of the scrapbooking kits that DSP comes from. Elizabeth Ames. So I believe this was another of our Paper Pumpkin Possibility blog hoppers. And hopefully you can see like she clear embossed on top of that, so it's real shiny, glossy sentiment. All right, so that's about half of them. And again, these are just the general swaps, so there are more. This is going quicker because last week, like I said, I was opening them as I was doing this video, so you'd get my initial reaction, and that meant they were almost all in clear envelopes that I had to rip open and were noisy. So this is going quicker, which is good. I really like this fold. Let's see who did this one. Whoop, do I not have a name on this one? Oh no, this one doesn't have a name. Well, whoever you are, I remember being impressed from the moment we swapped at that fold. And just the execution of it all is beautiful. Whoops. This one is Karen Floors again. So the same woman who gave me the ruler gift also swapped with me for this card, which has a bookmark in it. A bookmark with books on it. Love it. And that's a cool way to slide it in there. And it's DSP on the inside, so you can see the reverse of what you see on the outside. Just floating by. Okay, when I opened this one last week, this one is by Shi Lee. I know I've seen this set with the submarine, but I do not remember seeing that the crab has on a snorkel and mask, which I think is so cute. And so is the little fish. So cute. So, even me, who's obsessed with this and often watching it, I can miss things. Okay, so this is just a card front. I knew I had a couple of those. This is Abby Linnenberger. Beautiful, though. I just love that DSP, which is carrying over. So we have lots of great new DSP coming. In fact, between the annual catalog and the next online exclusives, which will release the same day, May 6th, there are 10 new DSP and or specialty papers. However, there are also almost as many, not quite 10, but maybe like at least half of that, returning DSPs. In fact, there's one that this will be its 3rd catalog. So it's obviously been popular. This next one is Maria Elena Sanchez. Thank you. think this one came with an envelope too. Oh, it came with an envelope, but no stamping on the envelope. Okay. I really like this one. This is an online exclusive that I had not seen in person or gotten a sample of, so I was very excited to get this from Sandy Tremmel. The Otters, you are remarkable in every single way, and it's a great fold. Look at that. I mean, that is an above and beyond general swap. Really special. So is this one. Let me see who this one's by. This one is by Jan Bassett. Some of these even come with like a list of supplies and like some basic instructions. I mean, people really, but it's a spinner. You might be like, why is that duck upside down? Not for long if I can get it to spin. Hang on, it's stuck. It's camera shy. There we go. It really is camera shy. It doesn't want to do it on camera. Sending or some bunny loves you. Cute. Cute, cute, cute. And kind of a different, color palette with the wild wheat, which is retiring. We have to say goodbye to those in colors from a couple of years ago. Thankful for you, friend. Let's see who this one is. This one is Cheryl Spitzley. You make a difference. I chose this one even though Christmas is far away. I'm sure it will feel like it came quickly once it comes. And I just thought this was very elegant. This is Robin Charvet. All the shimmery, not shimmery, but shiny gold on there. This one I thought was really kind of uniquely done in the black and white, which you know me, you know I love. This was by Tammy Richard. I think that's a neat composition. And again, just using the black and white. And then you'll know why I picked this. Birds with sympathy. And when I revealed this last week, I realized this is like the best I think I've ever seen someone use this hybrid embossing folder, which is carrying over. Those words are like perfectly outlined. So I want to contact her and ask how she did that. I assume it's a she because I don't think I swapped with any gentleman. And all it has is a QR code. So I'm not sure whose it is, but I'll have to find out. Ask her for her tips and tricks. This one is Jean Hardig for you. Or Jean. Probably Jean. Almost everyone at this event was from the US, but there were a lot of people from Canada, no surprise, our neighbors to the north, and there were some people from Europe, England, and maybe France. I know we had some French Canadians there, so everything was in English and French, and there was sign language interpretation. I'm trying to remember if anyone from any other countries came, because again, Stampin' Up! Is in other European countries in the South Pacific, but I don't remember if they announced anyone else from those countries. I know like my upline went to the one in Australia, and she and one of our other teammates were the only, no, two of the three people from the US there. This one's by Gail Rice, In My Thoughts, and that has an inside. This one's Karen Bismare, Love This Life. There were a few Stampin' Up! Demonstrators there at the event who were gentlemen. The same gentleman I saw last year who presented, who he grows his hair and then shaves his head and has just the letters SU on the back of his head in hair. He's a teacher, I think elementary school teacher, and he does it to raise money for his school supplies for his kids, I think. Really sweet. And then another friend I just met this year, Kevin, I think Michael is the one who does the SU. And then Kevin, who I met, who very graciously invited me to one of his online retreats as a guest attendee. I got to meet him at the event, which was really fun. Here's another fun fold, but just a card front, wishing you the happiest of birthdays. This one is Kim McKinney. You're the best. This one's Judy Anderson, and it's the Pop and Pastels technique. So this uses those chalk pastels, which was fun to see in person because I bought those and I still don't think I've used them. I wanted to, but I haven't gotten around to it. This one's by Kimberlia Embry. You've been on my mind. This is like almost all the in colors that are retiring. We've got Wild Wheat, Moody Mauve, Boho Blue, Pebbled Path, and which one am I forgetting? Copper Clay. That might be the one color you're not seeing on here, but that's what we're going to have retire here soon. And then last but not least of the general swaps, this one's Debbie Ryan. And I love this. I think this was an online exclusive, these flowers for each month of the year. This is March because I have more March birthdays in my family than any other, including my husband's, which we just celebrated. And you might think, did you make him a card? No, I did not, because when I make him cards, he just gives them back because he's such a minimalist. So like he appreciates it, but he's not going to keep it. So after making him a very special card and having it returned a couple years ago, I decided I'm just going to do verbal birthday cards. And I'm just going to tell him what I would have written in his card. And he's going to appreciate that more. But it is a little sad. Okay, so now my organized swaps, and I'm going to show you mine first. So I did a fun fold swap. And I always like to make swaps because, of course, these are for fellow demonstrators. So I like to make things that are really kind of unique to a demonstrator. So this is, I'm going to call it a twisting display fold. I'm not actually sure what it's called. If you know, please tell me. But this is one side. And when I was handing it to people, I was like, it's interactive, it twists. There's more to it than this. Because if this was all there is, it might be a little disappointing. But if you read it, not only does it say Stampin' Up, and this is from the Stampin' Up postcards, but the embellishments imply ... So Stampin' Up ... You inspire me. So it's the same image mirrored, but now the canvas is painted. This is DSP again, that is carrying over. I think this is Thoughtful Journeys, or at least that's one of the names of the products in that suite. It was one of my favorites from last year. And I colored the paintbrushes, the colors of the DSP. And it actually slides in and out off this canvas because I cut the bottom and top pieces of the easel holding the canvas so that this could be slid out, because I didn't think it would be carrying over. So I thought people could put current DSP in if they wanted to. I didn't like announce that to people, but I think they could figure it out. And now they don't need to because it is carrying over. So that was my fun fold swap. Now I'll show you the ones I got from others. And then I'll show you the 3D. All right. So these were organized by Barbara Walsh, by the way. And thank you again, Barbara, because I had been looking for a 3D swap and a fun fold swap, and I hadn't found any. And I was in a couple of Facebook groups for demonstrators leading up to this event who were, groups that were for getting things organized like swaps. And so I asked, does anyone know of swaps for these two, kind of categories of project? And she replied, no, I don't, but I'll host one. And so thank you again for doing that. So this first one is by Yolanda Nixon, Time to Celebrate. And then it kind of partly opens to have Happy Birthday slide out and kind of stand up, I guess, a little bit. And I love this vellum that she used on that. Let me slide her name back inside so I don't lose it. It's helpful to have people's contact info if you want to ask them, for directions or, again, their tips and tricks like I mentioned earlier. This next one is by Evelyn Norris. Welcome, little one. I love this. Everything I see with this suite, the storybook moments, congratulations. It's just really charming. Okay, and this was an online exclusive that I was really excited to have a sample for. I don't remember the name of it, but it's the one with the Just Married car, I'm going to call it. So you see Just Married on there. Let me get the name out. This one's by Kieran Rontawa. And look at this. Beautiful, right? To the happy couple on your wedding day. I love the little roses she added on there. You can see there's some embossing folder. All that pink is embossed with embossing folder. Lots of lovely detail. This next one is Sandra Urbach Ferreira. This was a popular fold. I really like it, and I ended up with a few of these. So definitely want to try recreating that. I love that that one creates a scene with that DSP. This one is by Annette Soward, and this is a Latch Fun Fold. Happy 50th birthday. Look at all those books. I like the color palette for this too, kind of different. This one is by Heidi Teet. Teet. Look at that hibiscus in it. I don't know if you can tell, it's Wink Stella on it, so it's shimmery. Maybe this is the one I was thinking of. I got a couple like this fold as well. I think both of those, we're going to see doubles of You Make Me Smile, which is totally fine. It's nice to actually see, a couple variations of the same fold. This is Bridget Rowe. And that's a wow. And look, even this flips up. You can put a little message in there. That's a great display card. It's a thick one. All right, I'm just going to tell you, this is the DSP that's in its third catalog. Whoops, throwing the name at you. This one is by Becky Evans. So this Perennial Lavender DSP is coming into its third publication. You're simply marvelous. Apparently you are, DSP. All right, here's more from the Storybook Moments. And again, these are more about the product than the project, or the projects than the product. Whew, that was a little hard to say. Because the product may retire, but these fun folds can be used with any product. So this one's by Therese Swayman. Another one of those. Lots of DSP. Kind of an expanded Z fold, like an accordion maybe. I don't know. I'm not good at knowing the names of folds. Some people included them. And I'm sorry if I've missed sharing some of those with you. A lot of people didn't. I didn't, because again, I don't really know what mine's called. I just posted in the Facebook group for the swap afterwards to say, I think this is what I've called it, but I don't know. Tell me if you do. This one is a double diamond butterfly, or I guess a double diamond, so it wouldn't have to have a butterfly. But Hello Spring. And that's, I say double diamond butterfly because that's what it was called by Susie Wood, who created this. Or sorry, Connie Ingram created it. She was inspired by Susie Wood. So another good display. Oh, and did you see it has a place to write your message too? Always want to have a place to write your message. When in doubt, you can always use the back of a card if there's not kind of an inside. Although I say that, mine kind of doesn't have a place for a message. I guess you could write a message on the canvas. But again, I didn't see mine as a card you would write on and send. I saw it as more of a display. This next one, I think same thing. This one would be more of a display as well. And a piece popped off as I was pulling out some of the other cards. So let me do a quick fix on here for us, and then I'll show it to you. So it's a fold you've already seen, just for you. This one is by Rhonda Smith, but she decided to make it a vase, and she gave us these flowers to put in it. How cool is that? I thought that was just such a great idea. Love it. So those were the fun folds. We had to make 12. We received 11 back, and one went to Barbara, the organizer. And it went really well. It was last year I did an organized swap of fun folds as well, where we turned our fun folds in one day at lunch and picked up the ones we were getting back from others the next day at lunch, and the organizer just kind of organized them all for us. This time we still really efficiently, actually. We just lined up and kind of went down the line and traded them ourselves, kind of as instructed by Barbara's friend, Laura, who was helping her run things that morning. But Barbara did also include a little gift for each swap. I can't remember which one was which. I think this one was probably for the fun fold, just a little Post-it note holder. So there's little Post-it notes inside. So I wasn't expecting that, to get a little gift from her. It was nice. And this was her gift for, I think, the 3D. And it had a little treat in there. You inspire me. So that was a little bonus surprise. Let's see. So these I did have to go through before showing them live because they're 3Ds. And so some of them had things in them, and I had to make sure it was going to get through TSA because I was only traveling with not even a carry-on, a personal item, because I was being cheap with my a la carte flight. And so I brought a flexible backpack, and I put everything in here. And that was my personal item to take on the plane. Luckily, the friend I was staying with just before and then for a while after the conference is the same size as me, including the same size shoes. So I was able to borrow from her. And I actually almost brought her shoes home because I was in line for security at the airport. I went to take my shoes off and they were her shoes. And I had to call her and tell her to like circle back to the airport and so we could switch shoes. But anyway, so these I did have to go through. And this one, I say all that to say, sadly, I could not reassemble it as beautifully as it was. So it was all tied up where all you could see was this beautiful twine bow on the top and a little flower, which is now on the inside, I believe. Yep, let me pull that out along with the name. So it had this cute little flower on top with the twine. So I'm going to have to reach out to Arlene Graham and have her tell me how to put it back together. It's super cute. But you can see it says Happy Spring, like a little sign the rabbit is holding. Really cute. And I guess on these ones, I'll show you mine last because I've started showing you other people's. So some of these had little treats like chocolates in them. Some of them had hand sanitizer and lip balms. Those are the things I had to pull out for TSA. This is one of the book boxes, the treat boxes that we have, and they decorated it with a book, which I think is fun. And this one was Kieran Randhawa again, and stamped on the inside, which I like. All the hard work was worth it. It'd be a great like graduation little gift. This one I was very impressed with. You're Pretty Wonderful. This is a Pretty Wonderful box. This was Jamie Adcock. And oh, that happened last time too. Look at all these little sections she made, including the one that just fell out. But you know, it was this great way to kind of organize your box and all the little things in it. So I think she had like a hand sanitizer here and a lip balm down here. And I don't remember, oh, little mints up there. I can actually still smell the mint. So yeah, I'm really impressed with the execution on that. I gotta put this name back in so I can remember. All right. And then this, I've taken the sweets out, but this Happy Spring box had a full-size Hershey's candy bar in it, which is a really beautiful way to give that. And this was Sarah O'Neill. I think it was also in like a clear bag with ribbon on the end. So even more stepped up presentation than what you're able to see now. And then I got some calendars. So hope your day is a happy one. This was from Rhonda Smith. It's got the calendar there. Let's see, where are we? We're already almost 4 months in. It's going to be April. By the time I post this, it probably will be. And then another standing calendar. This one is by Rhonda Morgan. So it folds up like this. I actually have one of these on my desk that I made that my upline taught me. You're Simply Marvelous. I think that's very well done. I love the embellishments and everything. And then a little notebook by Sandra Williams. And Sandra Williams, I'm going to not show you her information necessarily, but do you not recognize that font? That's the Disney font. Fellow Disney friend. Hello, friend. And that wraps all the way around this little notebook. So some really nice, not only paper projects, but gifts. So thank you all so much. I had, after reaching out about 3D swaps and Barbara saying she would host one and me saying I would absolutely join it, I reached back out to Barbara because I got nervous that maybe my project wasn't going to count, because she started saying things like, you know, as usual, it has to be all current Stampin' Up product, but, you know, Stampin' Up doesn't make mini notebooks. So, you know, that doesn't have to be Stampin' Up. And I thought, oh, I wasn't planning on like, you know, buying a calendar or having it be a treat package that would have treats in it and things like that. And so I sent her another version, actually something Rachel Tessman made that I was going to use the instructions to make my own design of. But like the fold was a fold that I was learning from a Rachel Tessman tutorial. Sorry, did I say Rhonda Wade? Rachel Tessman. And so I showed it to her and said, like, does this count? Because if not, I understand I can do something else or I can drop out. And this was like right after signing up. So it wouldn't have been like last minute or anything. And she was like, oh no, that's fine. You know, that looks really fun. So I was told it was okay because there's nothing in it. But again, it was meant to be kind of a demonstrator display item. So it says nothing's better than, I have to thank my friend Stasha for letting me borrow her bundle, the More Than Autumn bundle, to use that die. But nothing's better than Stampin' Up. And I use that Full of Life DSP again. And is it the Crafting with You, Crafting for You dies to have our paper trimmer and our snips. And these are off the postcards once again. And so it's this little hexagon box as a hopefully fun little demo display item for a desk. The last thing I had in this bag, that should have been in my little gift bag that we started with, but I ran into my friend Lissa Zwolniak. I never hear people say their last name, so I'm never sure how it's pronounced. But she was on, we were on the same Demonstrator Council a couple years ago, and so that's how we met virtually. I met her in person for the first time at last year's OnStage, and I was very happy to see her again at this year's OnStage. And she was going around the last day with just a bunch of gifts. And I was like, "Oh, I'm out of swaps, so I don't have anything to give you." She's like, "Oh no, it's just a gift." And so it was this super cute lanyard. Looks like a silver and gold like rhinestone lanyard. It says congratulations, and just beautifully packaged. So anyway, so sweet. She's just the sweetest. And she's one of the people who's like a big deal, like very successful. I didn't necessarily know that when I met her because I don't tend to know a lot of people. I don't get to follow many people. And so, a lot of times I would just be talking to someone like, in line for the restroom. Hi, Mary. And then find out later, like, oh, that's the person who just, was the top achiever for this or that, that everyone follows. And it's great when those people are so down to earth and just good. And that's how Lissa is. And that's how I would say almost everybody, I think everybody that I've met has been. So anyway, I'm seeing some comments from Mary. Thank you. I'm so glad you liked my swap. That's really reassuring. Thank you. So yeah, I would love to, again, know if you watched this live or on replay, who you are, where you're watching from, what questions you have. So comment and, share what you are most excited to see more of, whether it's from OnStage in the pictures that I'll share on my social, like maybe more about the product playground, sneak peeks of new product, what you're most looking forward to in the new catalog. I had asked my friends that before we got ours at OnStage. And I said, for me, it's always the thing I don't know that's coming, like a brand new type of craft, at least for Stampin' Up. And there are some of those things, some things that I've at least never seen them do before. But yes, I see some of you already liked this video. Thank you. If you do like this video, please click that you liked it. That's helpful. And the most helpful thing you can do is to follow and subscribe and share with others who you think would be interested. But this one, thankfully, ended up being under 2 hours, not another 2.5, like my first attempt at recording. And if I didn't mention this in this version, I do these, because hopefully it is inspiring or helpful to someone else, but also just for my own memory keeping, because these events are such highlights. And even though that's true with time, it can be easy, like even just in, the couple weeks since this event, I'm sure there's things I'm forgetting to share with you. And so it's helpful for me then to be able to go back and remember all the good times. So thank you for letting me share that. And yes, thank you so much for your support in whatever way you give it. So until the next time, and not just the next OnStage, but next time I can share with you, whether it's news or tutorials or unboxings, happy crafting.